2 months, let's say, similar to like what the state did with driver's licenses and things like that, if we can extend the existing certifications, so to speak. I don't know what the fire regulations are, so I'll have to ask Roger Stanford that. I don't know if we can extend a fire inspection or not. But we can certainly look into, is there some way of prorating those mercantile licenses, maybe because of the times that you were unable to be open in 2020, and somehow we can prorate that. I cannot give you an answer this morning. All I can say is I certainly understand why anyone felt dismay when they received that letter, and I'll see what council would, what we can do to help you. I will definitely look into that. So it's my understanding that they run from June 1st to May 31st. So there still is time to extend that May 31st deadline, so to speak, for when the one does expire. So more information will come on that. And again, I don't know what will happen, but I certainly think it's something that needs to be discussed within the borough. Public bathrooms. At this point, we are not discussing adding any additional public bathrooms. I think that right now our country knows about social distancing and personal space, and everybody is living the same thing we're living in their hometowns, in their areas. So anybody who visits here is certainly aware of what's going on and has the same as masks and social distancing has become our norm. They've become the norm everywhere. So that being said, I believe folks will practice social distancing as far as using the public bathroom. We have talked about it as far as the 95th Street bathroom at the beach. That's where I would anticipate the lines. That's where I see long lines. There is room throughout the parking lot to snake around for that 6-foot social distancing. But to answer that question, no, at this point, we have not considered additional bathrooms. One of the most important things to discuss this morning, and there was several of the questions, was why can't you do curbside pickup? What's a non-essential business? Why am I closed? What executive order authorizes the Borough of Stone Harbor to enforce this, so on and so forth? So I was asked specifically, what's the executive order? It's Executive Order 107. Executive Order 107. I did send a short explanation of Executive Order 107 to Marnie Tuesday night. I had sent her what the number was, and I also sent her my opinion on Executive Order 107. So she could share it with you guys, so she does have that information. So Executive Order 107 went into effect with the changes that we're living with today on March 21st. This is what is often referred to as the stay-at-home order for the residents of New Jersey. And what it basically states is all New Jersey residents shall remain at home or at their place of residence unless they are leaving for what amounts to be essential reasons or to engage in outdoor exercise. So it is the stay-at-home order. We're supposed to be at home unless we are obtaining an essential service or an essential good. So you're going to the grocery store, you're going to the doctor, you're going to work. Otherwise, you're supposed to be at home. And that order is in effect right now. That has not been lifted. And that has been in effect since March 21st. And also within that order, that's when the governor started closing what was referred to as non-essential businesses. If your business does not fall into one of the categories enumerated in Executive Order 107, your brick and mortar store must be closed to the public. The executive order specifically states, I'm quoting the executive order, the brick and mortar premises of all non-essential retail businesses must remain closed to the public as long as this order remains in effect. And that order is presently in effect. In addition, the order states that only online delivery can continue for non-essential business. So only online delivery. And I would like to preface this with, I think you should be open. I said this publicly Tuesday night at the council meeting. In my opinion, it is time that non-essential business was permitted to operate under the same protocols as essential. I think that we now know those protocols. We're familiar with them. We go to the grocery store. We know what to do. However, that is not my call. That is not the Borough of Stone Harbor's call. That is not the police chief's call. That is only the governor's call. And believe me, there's a very large push and a lot of pressure going to Trenton, and in particular from Cape May County, to relax this prohibition and allow you folks with non-essential retail to open. We are not sitting back doing nothing. Tuesday night, Cape May County freeholders met with the governor's chief of staff to express the strong opinion that Cape May County needs to open. No one is sitting on their hands doing nothing, believe me. So, what is an essential business? Some store owners are saying if I sell masks or if I add sanitizer to my inventory, can I be open? The standard that is being applied to answer these questions is that if the primary function of the store has been deemed an essential business, then you can open. The primary function of your store has been deemed an essential business, you may open. So the answer is no. If you add hand sanitizer and masks to your inventory and you are not an essential business at this time, that does not make you an essential business. If you are unsure what your classification is, our police chief is very proactive in making that call to the Attorney General's office to get an answer for you. We've been doing it several times a week. Marnie reaches out to the police chief, asks him, he reaches out to the Attorney General's office, and he gets an answer. Again, these calls are not being made by the Borough of Stone Harbor nor by the police chief. The police chief is on a daily call with the New Jersey State Police and representatives of the Attorney General's office, getting answers, telling people, sharing issues, problems, why you guys are in a state of not knowing. That's all being relayed to Trenton. We understand, those of us, boots on the ground, so to speak, we understand these orders are gray in areas. We understand that clarification is needed. We understand the anxiety, the frustration that all of you are feeling. We are, believe me, doing our best to get you answers. This situation changes on a dime. If you have a question and you get it to Marnie and Marnie gets it to the police chief, you usually have your answer within 24 hours. It's a very quick turnaround. Along the lines with Executive Order 107, the question I got was, why does the Borough of Stone Harbor now allow short-term rentals, but we will not allow the opening of non-essential businesses? That is because the governor gave two areas of authority, gave two areas where counties and municipalities have authority to make the decision. Two areas, short-term rentals and our beaches. Otherwise, we do not have the authority to make decisions on non-essential business. We only have the authority to make the decision on whether we want to ban or allow short-term rentals and whether or not we want to allow exercise on the beach. One of the questions I got at the council meeting was, why aren't our beaches open? Why can't I sit on the beach? My answer then and my answer now is, we are under a stay-at-home order. Stay at home means you're home, like I said earlier, unless you're engaged in procuring an essential good or service or getting exercise outside. So we've opened the beaches to exercise. That's why they're not open completely, because we're supposed to go out, get exercise, go home. That's what the executive order says. We're supposed to be staying at home. So that's why we were able to allow the short-term rentals and the hotels and motels to open. What we are trying to do here in Cape May County is have a regional approach. So if Avalon says no short-term rentals and Stone Harbor says, yes, we're going to allow short-term rentals, and then maybe North Wildwood says, well, we're not, and you start to pick and choose throughout the county, some towns are open, some towns are not. We are trying very hard to avoid that here in Cape May County. We're trying to have a regional approach, and it's for several reasons. One, of course, is their strength in numbers. And in approaching the governor's office as an entire county with 16 mayors signing off on a proposal, that's strength, and that is strength. And with all those folks involved in that proposal, there's strength there. So that's one reason why we wanted a regional approach. The second reason why we want a regional approach is because what it does is it starts to pit community against community. It starts to pit mayor against mayor. This mayor's stupid, they allow it. This mayor's ridiculous, they don't allow it. Why can't we do it in Stone Harbor when you can do it in Avalon? And then it just becomes, again, we start to work against one another instead of working together. So also, many of you have probably listened to the Director of Tourism, Diane Whelan, speak. And Diane always has a ton of statistics. And her statistics show that when people come to Cape May County, they don't stay in that one town where they are renting, or that one campground for the week, or whatever they do. They travel throughout the entire county. And they often do day trips to Stone Harbor. They come to the business district. They do our beach for one day. They go to Cape May for one day. They go to Wildwood Boardwalk. We want this regional approach to be what Cape May County always has been, a regional destination for travel and tourism. So if we act as a unit, and we all know that tourism is our main industry, then people can do what they're accustomed to doing. They can come and they can rent for a week in Stone Harbor, and they can do a night on the boardwalk in Wildwood, and they can go to Cape May and they can shop, because everybody's got the same rules and regulations in place. And we want that Cape May County experience to continue in that vein. So we will continue to do this regional approach. And I'll talk more to that at the end so I can get through your questions. Signage and reminders around town. Jenny Olson, most of you know her. She's our tourism director and public information officer. She has already started to begin working on this as far as signs for the kiosks in the business district. That would include reminders to social distance, wear your masks, wash your hands, etc. Be cognizant of general courtesy and respect for personal space. One of the other things that's coming out of this regional approach is the fact that the county wants to do a unified message and unified signage as well, and is actually looking into getting a vendor who will push text messages out. So we can get this unified message out throughout the county that we are being safe, we're being vigilant, but we are open. And that's what the message would be. Will we put sanitizing units all throughout the business district? And that's a difficult question to answer, because you got to find a product that we can put out there that can withstand elements, rain, extreme heat, so on and so forth. So I can't answer that. We have been talking about what we are going to do as far as our public buildings and what to put out there, but I do not know exactly what that's going to look like yet. As far as consumer confidence, once we have received whatever protocols the governor will put in place for us to open, we will work on promoting our town as responsible and vigilant. And how are we going to do that? It's like I just said, we're going to do it through both the borough, through the chamber, and through the county tourism department in concert with the Cape May County-wide initiative, recovery initiative. And remember, Stone Harbor is not alone in what is happening right now. New Jersey's not alone in what is happening. The United States of America is not alone in what's happening right now. Folks know what they need to do. We will message and we will message over and over and over again. That being said, folks know what to do. That's one of the reasons why I support the idea of non-essential businesses being open. We have all been on lockdown for, I want to say now we might be in day 50, 49 or 50. We all know what to do. What is it?
57.
We all know what to do. So
since the schools closed.
It's going to be, the lockdown started March 21st. I don't remember when the schools closed. And even these day trippers who visit Stone Harbor, they know what to do because they're experiencing this in their own towns. So it's not like we have to have a huge educational campaign because everybody's doing the same thing worldwide as it is. Yes, we will do reminders, and yes, we will do everything we can as far as messaging. But remember, the education has been done for the last 8 weeks, 6 weeks, worldwide. Another idea that has been thrown out through the county initiative plan is a reverse 911 system. You receive a telephone call with a reminder. One of the things that was mentioned was, would we do messaging from the PA system of the water tower? Personally, I feel like that's like a little bit apocalyptic and not very comforting myself. And it's not anything that the borough plans on doing at this time. As I said before, I gave you some of the ideas of how the messaging would go out. Another question I was asked about the business district, as far as, are we going to be sanitizing the kiosks daily? I would think that it's similar to when you go to the store and you use maybe the credit card machine or something like that. You use the kiosk, you use a hand sanitizer. We're not going to be sanitizing kiosks like on an hourly basis or anything like that.
You're referring to the parking, you're referring to the parking kiosk?
That's what I'm assuming was what the question was. The borough is purchasing a piece of equipment that is EPA approved, and it delivers a fog of even layer disinfectant on hard surfaces. So we will be doing those periodic deeper cleaning in places as needed. I would think though that any kind of public surface, if you're touching it, like if you go to CVS or if you go to the Acme, right now, whatever you're doing, I would imagine you're wearing gloves and discarding the gloves properly afterwards, or you're sanitizing your hands. I would imagine that anybody using a kiosk would do the same thing. As far as parking fees, what are we going to do with parking fees? Can't answer that question. I can tell you this. We did change, as you may or may not know, meters were to go in effect on May 1st. A couple of weeks ago, we passed a resolution changing that. The meters are not in effect right now, and they're up for discussion again on May 19th as to what we'll do with the meters. I don't know the answer to that. One of the problems that the borough is going to face, as well as each and every the world is facing, there's a trickle-down effect on this economic loss in every way. So the borough relies on revenue in order to provide certain services to the residents. So as your revenue decreases, our revenue decreases, services will decrease. We're going to have to see what we can do to minimize the effect on Stone Harbor's budget so we can provide services such as, trash pickup, those type of things, the functions of government within Stone Harbor. So it's happening on a federal level, a state level, a local level. The amount of just think this, and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here that you guys are well aware of this, but like right now you're not getting any state taxes that then you send to Trenton, the sales tax. That's not happening in your stores. That's less revenue for Trenton. That's less services coming out of Trenton. Tourism tax that comes out of Cape May County is astronomical, the amount of money that we send to Trenton through tourism taxes. They're not being collected right now. So the trickle-down effect is less money next year comes from Trenton into tourism. So these are all the things that government has to react to while we do things like parking fees and prorate fees and things like that. So again, Parking fees, not quite sure what we're going to do with the meters. I do not know. I almost feel if there's no sense having meters turned on if businesses are not permitted to be open. Doesn't make much sense to me, but again, it's not unilaterally my call, and we will definitely be discussing that at the next council meeting. Outdoor dining. I'm going to go to outdoor dining towards the end because that's pretty extensive. Police and pets. That was two of the questions I got. Somebody suggested that we restrict pets from the business district as it encourages interactions with others and could possibly, discourage social distancing. And again, I'm going to go back to, we all have been educated in the same way. We all know what to do. We all know about social distancing. I don't know how many new laws we want to put into effect as we maneuver this. I'm open for discussion on that. We can talk about that with council and see how people feel about that. It was one question that's never even been posed to me before, but it's an interesting observation because it does encourage people to walk up to the pet. It does encourage an interaction. By the same token, I think people are being accustomed to stopping abruptly and saying hi from a distance. So that is something we can talk about. And police, the question was, are the police going to have a presence in the business district? Yes, they will. The police presence is going to be that which we've always been accustomed to. Yes, there will be a police presence in the business district. One of the things that everybody brings up, and literally everybody, is the closing of 96th Street and the closing of streets in general. We've been talking about for probably a couple weeks, when you start to see what's recovery going to look like and what are the protocols going to be put in place from the governor, that maybe closing 96th Street is a good idea. Maybe it's not. We are talking about it. We will lose 67 parking spaces. We talk about putting tables, through the business district, and people, it would open things wide up. That is for sure. We can talk about that. Then you start to, it always snowballs. And I'm not saying this means this will not happen. I'm just saying in a discussion, these are the things that come up. Well, what about the person that grabs that table and they don't leave it for 5 hours? What do we do with that guy? Maybe that's one of those things that kind of works itself out. The nature of people working in groups, 5-10% of people become a problem. 90% are usually on board and are considerate of others. But that's something that we can certainly think about. As far as the closing of other streets, 3rd Avenue, or the 200 blocks of 95th or 97th Street, things like that, or up to 99th, they're difficult closures. And they're difficult because you always have to have a lane of travel open for public safety vehicles. So fire trucks and ambulance and police cars have to be able to get through. That starts to become problematic on the thinner streets, on those 2-lane streets. As all of you guys know, we close 96th Street often. All public safety officials are aware of what that route is and how to take it and how to use it. So that's a different animal when you're talking closing other streets. Difficult to maneuver a public safety vehicle through. And what it comes down to is when you're in emergency response in a public safety vehicle, you're supposed to take the quickest route there. And it can't be an obstacle course because there's emergency on the other end that needs your response to be there quickly. So I don't anticipate, and one of the other added things is, of course, 3rd Avenue is a county road, but I don't even think that comes into play as much as it's pretty difficult to maintain that public safety response and close 3rd Avenue. Outdoor dining. So outdoor dining, it's just interesting that outdoor dining got caught up in COVID-19 because it actually was something that the planning board was really hoping to have in place by the 3rd week of June this year. So we've been working on it for probably the last year. And part of what we started to look at was what Sea Isle did, because Sea Isle put some outdoor dining things in place 2-3 years ago, and it has really worked well for them. And we took a look at their ordinance, and we were crafting an ordinance. And what we were doing was the planning board was going to finalize the ordinance the second would be the second meeting in March. We had actually scheduled a special meeting so we could have it done and get it to council so it could get introduced. So we had scheduled that meeting for, I believe it was March 26th. And then all of this happened and the meetings were canceled. So in an effort to get back on track and back on the original schedule that the planning board was doing, we brought that ordinance forward Tuesday for discussion with council and for the introduction. So the plan had always been for council to receive that the second or the first meeting in May, so it could then be introduced. No, it was supposed to be the second meeting in April, introduced the first meeting in May, approved the first meeting in June, in effect 20 days later, which gets us to June 22nd. That was the plan all along. So we stuck with that plan. Now, as introduced, which it was introduced on Tuesday, that just by way of explanation, when you introduce an ordinance, it takes 48 days for it to become law. So we can't introduce something and it's law the next day. It takes 48 days. So that's why that timeline seems so long. That is how it is set up in the state of New Jersey. And why is it set up that way? So government can't just simply ramrod laws and ordinances through without the public having an opportunity to be aware that the ordinance change has been introduced and for the public to be able to have input. So there is a reason why that timeline is what it is. So when you introduce an ordinance, 4 weeks later, it's approved. 20 days later than that, it becomes law. That 20 days allows for appeal or other legal things to take place. So it takes 48 days. So on the schedule we're on now, our outdoor dining would coincide well with being open. We did not know that when we were doing this on planning board. That is just something we got lucky on. So it was introduced on Tuesday. One of the problems that we found in the interim was there's a conflict between the ordinance as introduced and our ordinance on the open display of alcoholic beverages. So now we've noticed that conflict. I found a solution to the conflict, and we will discuss that at our next council meeting. If we allow open display of alcoholic beverages in areas that have an outdoor dining permit and while seated at the table only, then we can solve that problem. So that's something that's going to come up for discussion with council. The other major difference from the outdoor dining, which one of the reasons why we were working on this on planning board, was the way our ordinance reads now, you need to go before the planning board, you need site plan review, it's an expensive and it's a long process. The new ordinance, you go into the zoning office and you get a zoning permit. You don't go before the planning board. You're not hiring attorneys and architects. It's a less expensive, quicker process, and it's a permitting process. So we thought that that would be better suited for our businesses to, rather than put them through an expensive process of getting site plan review and so on and so forth, let's make it a permitting process. So that's the road we were already on, and hopefully that's the road we remain on with outdoor dining. So, and I apologize if this detail is, and you can ask me questions at the end. So here is the plan. We put our ordinance in place. It becomes law on June 22nd. As the ordinance is written is one thing. For this summer, we would be able to pass resolution that alters that temporarily until COVID-19 crisis is over. Examples of what would be allowed only during COVID-19 would be, I hate to call out a business, but it's an easy one for me to call out. Fred's. Let's say that the governor tells us we can open. However, restaurants can only operate at 50% of their indoor capacity. And let's say that means Fred's loses 5 tables. then we would allow Fred's to take 5 tables and put them outside in the parking lot on their property. This is nothing that we would continue to allow once COVID-19 is behind us. This is only a temporary measure we would put in place for the summer while we need to have people outside, while we need more room, and while you people need relief. So we would revert back to the original restrictions once this crisis is over. This is something that's being done in every town along the coast, I can assure you. North Wildwood has already put their resolution in place. Wildwood will. Cape May is considering it as well. It is a way to get people outside. What we would do is we would be creative in how we can get tables outside 6 feet apart, but it would be a temporary measure. There are some folks who are in disagreement thinking we're going to crowd up the business district. That, of course, would be monitored. What we're really trying to do is get people outside, get additional tables available for restaurants, and get additional business. It would be done in a responsible manner. It would be in conjunction with the police department, and it would be in a way that it is safe in both light of COVID-19 and in light of public safety. So that is the plan. I hope the plan goes through. I would encourage you, if you support the plan, either as the chamber or as individuals, as individual restaurant owners, please let me know that you support that plan, that you would like to see the ordinance change in outdoor dining, and that you would like to see a resolution for this summer that allows additional relief until COVID-19 restrictions have been lifted. Truthfully, none of us know how long these restrictions are going to last. Is it going to be 6 months, 3 months, a year, 18 months? We don't know. But this change would only be in effect as long as COVID-19 restrictions are in place. The Cape May County-wide recovery initiative proposal. I saw that that went out to the membership. I'm assuming, or I'm hoping that you have read it. Tuesday night at council, I reported, and it was hot off the press, because as you remember, I said earlier, our freeholders met with the governor's chief of staff Tuesday night. Immediately following the meeting, Marcus Caravan, the borough solicitor, got a report, which he gave during our council meeting. And he was advised that the proposal was well received at the governor's office. However, although it was well received, the governor's office does have a little bit of concern about some of our timeline. So again, if you have not read the proposal, it's difficult to follow what I'm saying, but I'll throw out a couple of things. Like, for example, it had restaurants opening earlier than the governor would like, beaches opening earlier than the governor would like, non-essential businesses opening earlier than the governor would like. So we're working with the governor on those dates. It seems the greatest concern in Trenton right now is what's going to happen Memorial Day weekend, crowd-wise, and what are those repercussions going to be? So what it appears to be is, if we are willing to continue almost as is until June 1st, we will start to then see the relaxation of some of these restrictions. The governor is extremely concerned about Memorial Day weekend at the shore. So, although to some degree, you know, you might be thinking, well, you know, it's something we need to do. We need to be open, and so on and so forth. And the governor doesn't know what I'm going through, and so on and so forth. And I do not disagree with you. However, that being said, we are, for lack of a better word, in negotiations with the governor to allow us to act as a region. And if we are willing to continue as is, if that means we get June 1st, then I can get behind that. If that means that opening date is still just floating out there, that's the issue that the Cape May County Task Force, Recovery Task Force has. Governor, we are willing to work with you, but not with dates that you're not giving us. And we do not have solid dates from the governor's office yet. So that is the discussions that are going on right now. I don't know if you saw the paper this morning, but there was a press conference just yesterday with Senator Testa and the assemblyman from our legislative district. And the push is let non-essential business open. The governor just may, and we don't know this yet, the governor just may step in and reduce the authority municipalities have over beaches for Memorial Day weekend. We're waiting to hear if that's going to happen. So that is, let me find, they were very impressed in Trenton at the unified approach Cape May County has. That we went to them as a county with all 16 municipalities, all 16 mayors signed off and said, here's a plan we will all get behind. Let us get this plan started for our business community. So that was a plus for us. If you have not read the plan, I suggest you do, and you'll have kind of an idea of what opening could look like. I know that in Florida, they're doing, I think, 25% restaurant occupancy, so on and so forth. So states are looking to states to see what they're doing and to see what's working. The last thing that I would like to address is the fact that some of you feel there's been a lack of communication between me and your business community. Maggie can speak to that, and I think that she did speak to that in the video that she put out recently. I am in touch with Maggie. I'm not going to say daily, but I'm going to say probably every other day, or maybe it is daily if you include text messages. Actual conversations. We have actual conversations 5 times a week. If you feel I've been neglecting you, I apologize for that. I do not feel that I have been. I think that there's several people on you that I've been in touch with personally, and I think that many of you can attest to the fact that if you sent me a text, if you called me, if you emailed me, I got back to you. I don't think there's anyone who can say I did not. This situation is changing on a dime, literally. The borough's pushing out information as soon as we get it. Then no sooner do we push that information out, and 48 hours later, it has changed. We are having our council meetings on Zoom. There's a lot of discussion going on. Please tune in to the Zoom meetings, and you will see they're 4:30 every other Tuesday. Everything is being discussed. Marnie's at the meeting. Marnie asked a question Tuesday night. I gave Marnie an answer to her question, 9:30 p.m. Tuesday night, so she could get it to you folks by Wednesday morning. So that being said, I'll do what I can to get you whatever information in a more timely manner. And I think that the information's going out. I don't know where the disconnect is. I apologize again if you feel that you've been neglected by me personally, and I'm trying. And I'm getting the information out to Maggie and to Marnie when I get it. And that being said, I'm open for any questions.
Okay, I think I'm going to unmute everyone. So there are 41 of us on this call. So please, if you would like to speak up and ask a question, just announce your name.
Marnie, they can raise their hands, can't they?
I can't see everyone at the same time. I can scan through to see if you have a question. We're also
Jen Gensimer is great at finding the raised hands.
we also have
True story.
we also have chat on, you know, so you can send me a quick message, but for the moment. I will unmute everyone, and if it's
Marnie, could I interrupt for a minute? If you unmute everyone, we get a lot of background noise.
okay.
So I'd recommend that you do mute everyone so we can all hear.
Yeah, everyone is.
Okay, so if you wave at the screen, I don't see anyone waving at the
Yeah,
screen.
and we
I'll
have
I
a
can
few
flip through
people
as
who
well.
don't have video on.
But
People
they
who
hit, what do
don't
they,
have video on can go to the chat and
Yes.
say, I have a question,
Yep.
and we'll gladly
I
recognize.
got a chat. Sorry, not turning, okay.
That was earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions or would like to hear,
I'm looking through, I'm paging through.
here we go. Here is Jane. Jane, Jane Dawley from the Well Dressed Olive. I'm gonna unmute Jane.
Okay.
All right,
Hi, Jane. You're unmuted.
all right. I wanted to know, my store is only 700 square feet. How do I find out the occupancy that I would be allowed?
Well, Jane, at this point, we have received no guidance from the state at all what the protocols are going to be for non-essential business to open. So we don't know, will that be based on square footage? Will that be based on number of occupants? Will that be based on, let's say, percentage of fire occupancy? We have not received any guidance from the state yet on that.
Okay, thank you.
And hopefully we get something soon. So if you, so you folks will know what to put in place and be ready for it.
Mhm.
But at this time, if you look at the countywide initiative plan, there is some guidelines in there that we have proposed. It does not necessarily mean they're going to be accepted by the governor's office. Maybe some of the things you see and maybe be prepared for is things that are happening now with essential businesses. Like you go to CVS and there's behind the clerk, there's that plexiglass, and then the credit card machines out front, and they touch it,
Yeah.
and maybe doors will be open
Mhm.
to allow fresh air circulation and to allow somebody to stand outside your place. So as soon as person comes out, somebody else can go in. Some of the things at this point,
Judy, if I can help you, there's in the executive order 122, it starts on page 5. There is a list of what essential retail businesses are expected to do. Essential right now, if you are open right now and you are considered essential, in executive order 122, you can just Google it. There is a limit of occupancy. I'll just read a couple of them for you, but you can read the whole thing on your own. A is limit occupancy at 50% of the stated maximum store capacity, if applicable at one time. B is establish hours of operation wherever possible that permit access solely to high-risk individuals. C is install a physical barrier such as a shield guard between customers and cashiers, just like Judy's saying, but you can refer to those things. There's, it only goes on for, well, I printed it out in some large font, but it's about, I would say 10 things. And when I opened my store, because I'm considered essential, this is what I referred to, and I'm not sure what they are going to do when they do open non-essential, but they are talking about looking at this list. So it would just give you an idea of something, so you can have a heads up and plan of what you could do when we do open for non-essential. They are saying 50%. I would say your fire capacity could be given to you from the fire inspector. They probably have that information at the borough, Judy. You
yeah,
think?
and I'm saying that may be something that the state does. It makes sense, but we all know many things are not making sense right now, but it makes sense to me that you just be governed by the same exact protocols and regulations as essential, and everybody is accustomed to how to behave in an essential retail, behave the same way in non-essential. It seems to me it's an easy list of protocols, and it's an easy thing to do. Again, it's not my call, and I honestly wish it was, because you would be open under those protocols if it was my call. And that is what this regional task force is pushing from the governor.
Madam Mayor, may I add that for up to the minute information regarding this question and further questions, Will Morey is having a town hall meeting on Tuesday.
What time?
You know, I don't have it in front of me. 'Cause
I'm going to share that I did receive an email from the county chamber about that, and I'm going to send that information and registration through our membership email later today. But it is, yeah, it's Tuesday the 12th. I think it's 10 a.m. But yeah, that just was announced yesterday. So I'll be sending that out to everybody.
And Marnie, there was another email that came out saying, from Vicki Clark, saying that May 8th was a busy day. And she must have had 8 bullet items. It was a very
Yeah.
informative email. Can
Yeah.
you forward that to your membership?
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. I've been, we've been sending out updates several times a week, and I refer to Vicky's emails quite a bit. And I also have encouraged everybody to sign up to receive the county email addresses. They're not requiring that you become, if you're not a member of the county chamber at the moment, Vicky's just saying, please go onto our website, sign up to receive our email. She sends out a daily email with lots of great information.
If I could just add that Nina Rinaldi was the director of the Avalon Museum, and she's a Harvard grad. She's just an amazing, amazing person. And somehow the chamber landed her as their program director, and their programming during this period has been exceptional. So I would stay tuned to what the programming they're putting out and their communications. I think Nina's a big part of that.
Yep, Nina's been great as well. She and I have been on a few calls in the last couple of weeks. I've received a couple of questions via text since we've been on. One is, what about masks being worn in the outside shopping district?
The intention of the borough at this point is, of course, to follow the CDC guidelines, and masks are not required outside, recommended within the 6 feet of people, the social distancing and so on. There was some bit of discussion about maybe making masks mandatory in outside areas that are very crowded, such as 96th Street. Our thought process is, again, everybody has been educated to the same degree as each and every one of us have, no matter where they're from. So also, again, as we open, it's something that could come out of the governor's office. I was just reading an article this morning that was quoting Governor Murphy and something to the effect of masks on the beach.
Yeah.
To require masks on the beach when your closest person is 20 feet away doesn't make sense to me. That being said, we await the guidelines from the state. Other questions?
I think I can.
Hugh Merkel.
Okay.
Hi, Hugh.
Hi, Judy, Maggie, and everybody. So your comment about possibly closing 96th Street in the 200 block, if you poll the business owners in that 200 block, because that would be the fair thing, to me, it sounds like a good idea if you did it Friday from maybe 4 on Saturday and then maybe Sunday till 2.
Right, and Hugh, I don't disagree with you. That's one thing that's crossed my mind, is perhaps we just do it on weekends. The borough is accustomed to closing 96th Street, and usually when we close it for an event, it takes a long time, to
Right.
close it, put up, but there'd be no tents, just
Right.
barricades.
It might be especially a good idea, at least for Memorial Day weekend, but I think you need to get the owners in that block to agree, because that would be the most fair thing. The other thing that I would recommend that was brought up when you talk about the meters and the kiosks and when people will have to pay, not along the Jersey Shore, but in other suburban towns, there are towns that have put, green bags over their meters, and it's free right now. I don't know if it would, you discuss it with council or whomever, it might be a good idea as a goodwill thing to do till June 30th, Just a thought.
Yeah, and again, don't disagree with you, and that's when we did change when meters would go into effect at that, we did it in a fashion where it would be discussed on that Tuesday. Give it a couple, and then on Tuesday, so we will need to make a decision on what we're gonna do at that second council meeting, which is the 19th of May. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not. We did push this information out that the preseason rate on beach tags was pushed ahead a month. So you can purchase preseason beach tags up until July 1st instead of June 1st.
And,
So
and do you have a date when you're going to start requiring the beach tags?
we do not. It seems like if the beach is not open for full use, how can you
Right.
how can you have a beach tag? You know, that's what makes sense to me. So if
Sure.
you're not allowed full use of the beach, then why would we charge you to come onto the beach?
Right. Right.
So
Thank you.
again, something that needs to be discussed, the resolution put in place and so on and so forth. But that'd be my opinion on how we should handle that.
Thank you.
Thank
Judy,
you.
Judy, is the beach tag office at the beachfront open now for purchase?
It is not. And do you know why? Because it's a non-essential
Okay.
retail store.
All right.
So our brick and mortar facility must remain closed.
Wasn't
So
sure.
we will also abide by the governor's executive order. That being said, you can send the check as always and pick up at a later date and so on and so forth. But no, we will not be opening beach tags and have a physical presence until that executive order tells us we can.
Maggie, if you could look at 107 for me for a moment. We have a message from Vince Lamanna about miniature golf courses. I believe there's something right in there.
There is. It's the entertainment portion of it. So I'm gonna find what page that is right now.
If I'm not mistaken, that question has already gone to the chief of police and he's going to be looking for clarification from the attorney general's office. Is a miniature golf course a golf course, and can that be open under the,
So number 9, it's actually on page 8 of Executive Order 107. Number 9 is all recreational and entertainment businesses, including but not limited to the following list, must close to the public as long as this order remains in effect. The State Director of Emergency Management, who is the superintendent, has his discretion to make the additions amendments, which says it on every one of them. A is casino gaming floors, B is racetracks, gyms and fitness, entertainment centers, but not limited to movie theaters, performing arts, other concert venues, nightclubs, all indoor portions of retail shopping malls, all places of public amusement, whether indoors or outdoors, including but not limited to locations with amusement parks, water parks, aquariums, zoos, arcades, fairs, children's play centers, funplexes, theme parks, bowling alleys, family and children's attractions. I think F might be the answer to that, which is actually located on page 9 of the Executive Order 107.
Okay.
Well, it is, like I said too, it is going to the police chief, and if golf course can be open, and if Trenton says they can be open, then they can be open. So
Yeah.
I'll say that clarification.
Am I on?
Yeah,
You're
I
on,
think-
Vince.
Yeah, the other distinction is that it's not a bricks and mortar building, so it doesn't fall into that category. I think F pretty much starts to cover it, but it should be removed from the bricks and mortar category because it's not a bricks and mortar
Correct.
operation.
He did open golf courses, so I don't know whether he
Right.
means,
Yeah, Vince, that's more the angle I think that's being looked at is it a golf course? That
Well-
I think is more the angle that
We
being
we
looked
don't we limit the drives. It's mostly putting, but it is a golf course.
Right, so that is, the police chief is looking for clarification on miniature golf. That is happening.
Thank you,
So we can let you know.
thank you.
I received this question via text as well, and I think we answered this earlier, so they may have come on the call late, but it's, could a retail business in Stone Harbor add a pop-up market of essentials like toilet paper, water, non-perishable food? We talked about this earlier.
Yeah, we talked about how.
It has to be your
and-
primary, your
Yes.
primary function as a business has to include those items. So I'm guessing the answer to that is
The answer would be, yeah, like the standard being applied, what's the primary function of the store?
right.
Primary function of the store. Another question that we're often getting is things like, what's going on with the concerts, Tuesdays at the Tower, and so on and so forth. And again, at the risk of repeating myself, waiting for instructions from the state. Just based on what I read and the many phone calls that I'm on and the Zoom meetings and the conversations. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. However, I anticipate gatherings larger than 50 people will be restricted by the state for quite some time. Months,
Yeah.
but waiting on that guidance and instruction.
One quick question about the June 1st date for short-term rentals, hotels, motels, which I'm thrilled for, our businesses, for our real estate businesses and hotels and motels. However, it seems strange to think of a stay-at-home order in place on June 1st where you can come and rent a hotel room or
Right.
a home. So I'm guessing there's, what falls under that category is, does it have to do with living? In other words, does it include people who are actually looking for somewhere to live? Is that the reason why this is all falling under this category?
Well, the people who were looking for some place to live were never restricted.
Yeah,
You could get a rental if it was going to be more than under the last order. If it was going to be more than 180 days, you could get that. You could purchase
Gotcha.
a living space. But
Yeah.
so this was basically to stop short-term rentals. Exactly that. Maybe the hint is
yeah,
things are
that's what
going to
I'm
be
guessing.
lifted by June 1st.
That's what I'm
You
guessing.
know what I mean? Because
There's-
that would certainly make sense.
Right, someone
certainly
knows
makes
something
sense.
we don't know.
So maybe if that was one thing that was said in one of the meetings I was in, is if you listen to the governor's press briefings, oftentimes you get an indication of what's coming next. And how could we possibly allow those short-term rentals, to your point, Marnie, when there's the stay
Right,
at home in order in place? But we have not been told by Trenton we can't do this.
right.
So, I mean, that is one of those things that shows some hope. So-
Right, and the disconnect between someone coming and being able to, wanting to be here for whether it be 2 nights to 6 nights, 7 nights, and walk downtown Stone Harbor and no one is open, for them to do what they're here to do. That's where obviously there's something probably in play to have retail businesses, non-essential retail, open by June 1st
Right.
for that very reason. If you're here to enjoy the town and be on vacation, they're anticipating our retail businesses being open. So a couple more questions. I know, Judy, I appreciate you being here. I know we said 10 o'clock. So when you have to go and if you have to go, Maggie and I can stay on and continue to help. But Pete Alt's asking about bait and tackle, including in retail functions of gas stations.
I believe, Pete and Jane, you guys were given an answer by the chief of police that Smuggler's Cove can be open, the entire facility. Am I mistaken on that?
Let me see, Pete, I can unmute Jane for a sec. Hi, Jane. Did you find out, are you asking about inside versus just being open outside for gas and bait outside, or?
Yeah, we want to know what the parameters are, and I did not contact the chief of police yet.
Okay.
I will-
Marnie did for you.
Yeah, I did. I emailed Tom Shutta
Yes,
yesterday, so I will check as soon as we get off the call.
Tom, the chief replied to you yesterday, right before 3 o'clock morning.
About Smugs too?
Yep. Yes,
Okay.
yes. And Jane, yes, you are good to go. Take a look at the executive order with the protocols that essential businesses, like Maggie just said, and
Right.
operate under those protocols, and yep, you are good to go.
All right, we are getting those in place.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And Jill from Shorely Chic Boutique is asking if we were to close 96th Street, would we be able to open the free lot since parking is already limited?
Open the free lot? It already is open. Joe, I saw you, Joe. Do you want to,
Yeah, let me,
yeah, expound on that? Are you talking about a different lot?
Jill's still on here. Let me find her. There she is. Hold on. Jill, I'm gonna unmute. Go right ahead. And unmute you. There you go. Hi.
It has all the construction.
Oh, okay. Now I understand what you're saying. Wow. Now I understand 100% what you're saying. Huh. Good question. Where, I can get an answer for that as to how much of that equipment's going to remain there because of that.
Mhm.
It's a pretty big project going on there. Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And-
I'll find out what the status of that's going to be come summer. How many parking spaces would we lose? Yeah, I hear you.
Because right now it looks like they take up the entire parking lot.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. I do know there's some kind of provisions for summer every time we have those large projects. Off the top of my head, I do not know what that answer is, but it's not, I'll get that for you and see what the plan is for that come June.
Thank you.
Hi, Gina. I see Gina McConey has a question here as well about, she'd like to go ahead and start selling water, ice, and lemonade. It's up front and would border off the games and shut one door. She is saying that Rita's in Rio Grande has been open since March. So we need to find out. Gina,
I'm going to refer that to the chief of police through the attorney
Absolutely.
general's office. I'm not
Okay.
comfortable making those
Got it.
decisions,
Got it.
and I do know that there's certain questions that the police chief is asked when he goes for these clarifications. So I suggest, Marnie, that if there's anybody who thinks, or who has questions like that, one email to the chief,
Yep.
and he can, but I know that it's rolling, you know what I mean? But those of you who are on the call, if you have a question as to whether or not you can open and you get that to Marnie, Marnie gets it to the police chief, he can get an answer for you and he gets that answer quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, at least by Memorial Day. I mean, it can wait a couple weeks, but I would just hope to get Memorial Day weekend
Well,
in.
Gina, let's just get an answer for you as soon as possible.
Yeah, okay.
Let's just get that email to the chief this week and let's just get an answer. No need to wait.
And Hugh Merkel's maybe close 96th Street at 10:30 a.m. rather than earlier on the weekends.
We'll see. I mean, the whole closing of 96th Street is something to be discussed.
Don't forget Carrie Todd before the mayor goes.
Oh, Carrie's got her hand up. Pardon me.
She's in the chat.
Can I find her in the chat? No.
I
don't
see
know.
her. I see her. I'll read it for you. It says, when 96th Street is closed for events, my business decreases. Handicapped citizens have a difficult time walking to my business.
And which business is that, Marnie?
This is bread and cheese.
Okay.
I also get complaints that people don't want to carry their bags of baked goods and groceries far. Majority of my customers come to my store before 10 a.m. when there isn't difficulty parking. So her,
Yeah, that is there is those folks who are not fans of closing 96th Street. There is those businesses that do not support that idea, that have that valid concern that no one can park in front of their store. Where are they going to park? Are they going to park 2 blocks to get there? So that is certainly something, that's the pros and cons that need to be weighed. And we certainly encourage hearing from you as far as, your thoughts on that. Because as we deliberate, you're the folks that are there day in and day out and know what's happening. So as we think about these things, hearing from you makes a big difference in the decision-making process.
and
Angela's waving her real hand.
Who is?
Angela. Unmute,
Unmute, yeah.
unmute, Angela.
I'm gonna find her right now.
Just press your space bar,
Okay,
Angela.
gotcha. Hi, Angela.
Hi, I guess I just wanted to weigh in on that 96th Street as well. Whenever we close it, it is a significant decrease in our business. So I'm clearly not a fan of
Not a fan of that.
on
Okay.
96th Street.
Okay. I think that, Marnie, it might be a good idea to identify the businesses there and for the chamber to reach out, and if we could get a collective kind of survey, for lack of a better word, from those businesses, it would be helpful.
Okay, I may ask before that what you are considering, unless you just want it to be an open-ended
We're
question.
not, honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, Marnie, we are considering everything. under
Everything.
the sun.
Okay,
So if, just the feedback is welcome. It is something that we're getting over and over and over again, that as a possible, solution to this.
got it.
So, honestly, it is all in flux. So somebody may give an idea that makes us say, wow, did not think of that one.
Yeah,
So the input is definitely welcome. And I do know the concern with people then not having access to stores like Angela's, and like Bread and
Sure.
Cheese. I do, and I recognize that. So that there's something to be said for it, and it would be, I think it would be very helpful to hear from those who will be actually affected the most, which would be those stores on that 200 block.
got it. Okay, and Jason Yellen, thanks for Gina McConey. This applies to you. Jason chimed in and said, speaking on amusement concessions, he does know that different operations throughout the state are open for food only while their amusement rides are obviously closed. I know that's happening on the Wildwood Boardwalk, like Curly Fries is open, but
Right.
obviously,
Amusement,
here is
yeah.
not. So, that's something, Gina, we have to ask Chief Shutta, and Chief Shutta can ask the Attorney General's office
Do
about.
we have an example of something here? What is, I'm not,
I think Jason's just referring to boardwalks around the state. They're
Right.
selling just concessions, and not
Right. I
provide.
would prefer, but I would prefer that if we're going to ask Chief Shutter to go to the Attorney General, it be a specific business, because they're going to ask for specific parameters about the specific business.
He was answering Gina. I think he was trying to help Gina McConey answer her question about selling lemonade.
Okay.
I think that the amusement business is Hupton's. I believe that's how you pronounce it, down in South Jersey, not at the shore. But I think that that's the outlet that is open.
Okay. Okay.
Mayor Judy,
Patty Stevens.
Patty DeMarco.
Hi, Patty. Unmute. Can you unmute her, Marnie?
Yep, I'm looking for. There's a lot of us on. There you are. Hi, Patty. Hold on one second. All right. Hi.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Patty.
Good morning, everyone. Marnie, thank you for bringing up the disconnect between the June 1st date and the governor's stay at home. If I understand this correctly, on May the 7th, the governor extended the stay at home for 30 more days, which takes us to June the 7th. Meanwhile, we're saying we can allow our short-term.
Patty, that's actually not, he did not extend the stay at home. The stay at home is actually indefinite until he lifts it. 30 days was
Extended
actually,
the health emergency.
the 30 days was the state of emergency that he's extended, and he has to do that in order for federal monies. So that's not the stay at home that was, a lot of people were asking that same question. So thank you for saying that. But it was not the stay at home. The stay at home is actually an order that is in effect until he lifts it. So there is no date on that. But the state of emergency, he only does for 30 days at a time.
Then
So
that
it's
only
in effect
complicates,
until a certain time, and then he had to extend that in order to get federal money for the state of New Jersey.
then Maggie, that only complicates what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Okay, the conflict in dates is what's causing myself, and I'm sure other realtors, we feel like we're caught in the crosshairs.
So,
We're-
Patty, you're protected.
Mhm.
I mean, you're protected. You're allowed to do the short-term rentals. They're permitted.
Yeah, but Judy, they don't necessarily, the tenants don't want to come if the town's not open.
Oh, okay, so that,
No,
okay, I
no.
understand that. I thought you meant as far as the violation of the stay-at-home order.
The tenants don't want to come if they can't go to the beach and if the town's not going to be open. The owners don't want to let them out of their leases and refund their money if they have the opportunity of coming and are choosing not to come. So quite frankly, as realtors, we're really caught in the crosshairs of what the
You are.
regulations are and what's, good business practices and what's fair.
Right.
If we could somehow encourage all the powers that be to draw a line in the sand on a date. If our
And
restrictions.
I can assure you, honestly, it's being done daily. Daily,
That's what we're looking for.
daily. When I tell you daily, I am not exaggerating. The amount of pressure that the Cape May County-wide recovery initiative is putting on Trenton is amazing, and it's daily. So for those of you who have not read it, I encourage you to read it. And I also encourage you to take a list of who is on that task force, because there's 4 representatives from the 7 Mile Island on the task force. We are represented by Dale Minor, the Miss Avalon, Salon Elite, and Fudge Kitchen. They sit on the task force. So we have representation in this recovery initiative. There's a lot of pressure, and that's one of the things that I talked about earlier with the beaches opening and Memorial Day weekend. Our message to the governor is, look, we will get on board. However, we need a date. This can't go on indefinitely for us to slow down our Memorial Day weekend and for us to not promote our areas and for us to not have rentals at that time, only for you to have June 1st come and say, well, hang in there till July 1st. No, we don't want that. We want a definitive date and we want June 1st. And that's the message that is being rammed down the throat of Trenton. You can trust me on that.
That's what we need. We just need a unified date for each of these aspects.
Yes, and that's the message that Will Morey was given to take back. That Will Morey and Len Desiderio were given to take back to Trenton.
And the cross-section of the task force, by the way, was a beautiful cross-section. I don't know that there's anyone left out. I think that was a magnificent job.
Yeah, I think they did a good job too.
Thank you.
And once they got moving, meeting daily, producing that document. It's a progressive document. It's thoughtful. It really does. The dates, it seems to me, the dates were the only thing, the feedback I'm getting were the only thing that Trenton disagreed with. And that's where this June 1st, and we're like, okay, then let's make it June 1st then. If you didn't like the May dates, let's make it June 1st. So hopefully we're going to get some movement on that and soon.
Thank
So the
you.
next question is about, I'm sorry, Patty, are you finished?
No, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So the next question was, so can restaurants open for dine-in at 50% or social distancing on June 1st? Debbie, if you read that 33-page document, I'm going to tell you exactly what page. It's
But
on.
Maggie, let me interrupt. The dates in the document actually
Are proposed.
they don't
Are
mean
proposed
anything.
dates.
The answer to the question is that is unknown at this time. We are
Right.
waiting direction from Trenton.
Right.
All right, so we have to wait till we hear from Trenton whether we can open or not, because I've been hearing since June 15th.
Yes, those the only, again, I guess I will reiterate. The municipalities were given the authority over only 2 areas, the beaches and short-term rentals. Everything else, the state tells us what happens. It is nothing that is under our jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And hopefully it is by June 1st.
Okay.
Any other hands up? Jen, can you see any? I'm looking.
No, not at the, I don't see any.
Nope, I don't either.
All right, everyone. Well, I'm going to, following the meeting, I am going to send out another email today, just with some references for everyone. I've been on that, COVID, .nj, covid19.nj.gov in the last couple of days. The New Jersey State government website has its own COVID-19 website with lots of information. It's got the executive orders on there.
I did, Marnie, sorry to interrupt. I did look at your website and I looked for the countywide initiative plan for a link to it on Chamber's website. I didn't see one.
Yeah, it's not on the website. I emailed it to everyone, I guess on Tuesday or Wednesday, but we could add a link to it. That's no problem.
I would think for ease of finding it, everybody, if you're anything like me, your emails are buried. Day in and day out, you're getting so many.
Yeah.
So any kind of ease of reference for your membership would help.
Since the website is specific to people in, the general public, I really didn't think it was a good idea to share the proposal, but I guess what I could do in each of my emails, have that link available every time I send.
And I can see maybe if you link to the borough and your membership knows you're linked to the borough and we get it and a nice spot, then we can set those links up, at least for ease of people finding it.
Gotcha. I'll keep that in mind in terms of references. Every time I send an email, if I include shnj.org's link, I know your COVID, we linked on our website for the general public, your COVID-19 questions.
I saw the frequently answered questions, and Jenny is doing a good job keeping up on that, because as I said before, it changes on a dime, and we're constantly having her go in and make those changes. So when you click on those FAQs, it's up to date.
Got it. And just something simple, I've obviously been thinking about the signage downtown. I added a sign in the kiosk yesterday that just say, when you are inside, when you're going inside businesses, you must wear a mask. I'll forward that PDF to all of our members so that you can print out your own for your store window. But Jenny and I have been talking about, getting on board with signage, for the community.
Yeah.
Once we know. So, and Pete, from Smugs, I know you're on here. We'd answered the question. Smuggler's Cove has been given the thumbs up to operate as a bait and tackle shop. Beyond, I see your thumb. Good. Victory.
One by one.
Yes. Yes. What's today? Today, guys, May 9th? May 9th, right?
Looking around to see if we have any other last minute questions.
I see, nope, Debbie about restaurants on June 1st. And Gina, I will email you the name of that amusement place in Williamstown. Maybe you could give them a call and ask them, how they're operating with just concessions versus not opening their gaming. So they might be a good reference for Gina McConey for Reggie's. All right.
Okay, so I hope I've helped relieve some anxiety. I know probably not a whole lot of it, and I apologize for that. And I think you need to be open. That's the message I keep saying over and over again. Non-essential retail needs to be open. Restaurants need to be able to start to have their patrons come inside. Let's get some outdoor dining. This does have to happen. I am not going to insult you by saying I know how you feel, because I'm not a small business owner. So I'm not going to insult you by saying that. I will tell you that you are literally on my mind every moment of every day. We need to get this moving, and we need to get on the road to recovery. I think I'm preaching to the choir, but it needs to happen. And I'm doing as much as I can for you, and I will continue to do as much in that vein as possible. And I will try to communicate better. I will try to just get information out quicker. As I said, I'll continue to try and do my best to keep you in the loop. And anybody who reaches out to me, I will respond to you usually within 5 or 10 minutes. So just get in touch with me with your particular concern. Maybe you didn't want to ask a question this morning for whatever reason. If you want to reach out to me one-on-one, please feel free to do that. And I'll do whatever I can to help you, to answer your question, to point you in a direction, whatever I can do. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hang in there, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and
Thank you, Judy.
so, okay. All right, thank you. I see that cat, Gina.
All right, everyone. If there's anything else that you would like to discuss, this is a chamber meeting. So if there's anything else that you'd like to discuss with just chamber, Marnie and I are willing to stay for a little bit longer if you'd like and answer some more questions. I did want to just make a real quick announcement about the letter to the governor that I sent out, and I've been receiving so many of your responses. So many people have filled out that letter. That will be going in a package to the governor on Monday morning. I did reach out to all of the other chamber of commerces in Cape May County via email and some phone calls. And I do know for a fact that Lower Township has already sent the letter out to their membership, their full membership. John O'Day and I were on a conference call with Brian Heritage yesterday, who is the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Sea Isle City. I just wanted to real quick give you some information that we got on that phone call, which was extremely, it opened a lot of hope, whereas we are slamming this June 1st date in this meeting. He was quite the opposite. He has a direct line to Lenny Desiderio, who, as you know, is the mayor of Sea Isle City. He is also a freeholder in the county, and he is also the co-chair on that task force for the county. He's also a business owner. So all of those hats that he wears, I personally put a lot of weight in what his opinions are. And this gentleman, Brian Heritage, who is the chamber president, is apparently very friendly with Lenny and talks to Lenny on a daily basis. And I just wanted to let you know that their underground and gossip says Memorial Day weekend. They are already saying Memorial Day weekend. So fingers crossed that that is correct. I obviously can't quote that that is going to happen, but they are talking with the governor frequently, and they think with direct questions. Lenny Desiderio was on a Zoom call, I believe it was 3 mornings ago, I think it was Thursday morning, and he had a direct question from his membership and his meeting, say, do you think we will be open, non-essential businesses and restaurants, do you think we will be open for in brick and mortar dining and shopping by Memorial Day weekend? And his answer was definitively, yes, I do think so. So that is really good news. I don't know how much stock to put in it, but like I said, you know, Lenny Desiderio is somebody who sits with a lot of hats and a lot of connection. And for him to say something like that, I thought was wonderful. They are also talking about, if nothing else, curbside pickup, which, as we know, as retail store owners, would be devastating to our business to have that only be allowed for Memorial Day weekend. But I am pushing as hard as I can. I'm going to have as many of these letters. I have the folder of letters that everyone has been sending me back. I have about 50 responses right now, which is wonderful. Usually we don't get that kind of response for anything. So I really thank everybody for your participation. If you have not filled that out, or if you do not know what I'm talking about, I wrote a letter to the governor with some spaces on it for you to just fill out your individual name and business, and a place for a signature and address at the bottom, which is what they were asking for. I just want to show that that all these businesses are willing and wanting and have the desire to open. Because if we can prove that and say, listen, these business owners are not sitting at home thinking, I don't want to be open. They all want to be open, and here's all our names and our signatures. So I am going to get that up there on Monday morning, and as many as I can from other municipalities and their chamber members as well. As many that will come to me, I will put them in a PDF file, and we're going to get them directly to the governor. So I just wanted to throw that information out to all of you as well. Does anybody else have any questions for us? I'm going to put you in a view that I can see everybody. Okay.
Okay. If when you're done, Maggie, I just wanted to say one thing.
Sure, Gina, go ahead.
Okay, just because a lot of you know my mom. You know, my mom's been around for a long time, so she's been in Cape Regional for 8 days now, and just wanted anybody prays if they can just pray for her. I don't know what's going on there because I can't get in there, you know, but I don't know why they're keeping her so long. But anyway,
Sorry to hear that, Gina.
yeah, just keep her in your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Bad time to be in there, yeah. So
she's a strong lady.
Are you in touch with the nurse every day, Gina?
You know, they're so busy because, you know, they have to suit up. I mean, she's on the 3rd floor at Cape Regional, and like the floor right next door to her has COVID. I mean, the room right next door to her has COVID patients. So the nurses have to like suit up to go into that room to do, you know, vitals and give medicine. Then they have to take everything off. So they're so busy. It's a shame that they don't have a point of contact there. Like, since family members can't go in, that they don't have a point person to make sure that they contact family members, you know, every day and just give them an update. You know, I mean, I spend hours trying to just, you know, get a hold of the pulmonologist, the cardiologist, you know, the nurse, where before I would just sit in a room and just wait for those, you know, doctors to come in and be able to catch them so I wouldn't have to bug them, you know. So it's a little frustrating, but
Yeah,
I mean, I understand.
Keep me, you know, keep us updated, you know, text me, email me, keep us updated on Mary.
Yeah, I mean, today's our 9th day and they don't even have a plan. Like, I have no idea when she's getting out. I'm like, people have open heart surgery and they're only in the hospital for, you know, a few days.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, last night I thought about, you know, it's a good thing I don't have a gun laying around. I mean, I just wanted to break through the doors and just, because she wasn't answering her phone, you know, so I can't get a hold of her either most of the time, as, you know, Jane and Kathy know, right? So, yeah. Anyway.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for participating today. We appreciate it.
Jason Yellen has a question.
Oh.
So I just had a thought. Is there any plan in notifying once things start to open what the restrictions are, as far as notifying the public, as far as what the restrictions are within the businesses, so that people are aware, so they're not flooding everyone's phone lines?
When you say restrictions, you mean what is required of them to actually go shopping and go to?
Correct. Once those guidelines.
I think Judy answered that briefly. I don't know whether you were here when she was talking about that, but that will come from the governor's office. Have you read the 33-page document? It does outline what we are proposing might be a scenario when we do open non-essential businesses and restaurants to the public again. But again, we won't know what those restrictions are until he lets us know, you know, in definitive terms what we are supposed to be doing. But I think if you refer to that, you will at least see like the example scenarios that
right. So
that might be in fact.
My question or thought process is more along the lines of not necessarily what the guidelines are going to be, but how those, whatever is laid out, how that is relayed to vacationers or homeowners that are going to be there and trying to shop.
Right.
So they're not calling the chamber office and trying to get in touch with
someone.
And unfortunately, I think they're going to call the chamber because anyway, they have some questions, but we are obviously, Judy and Marnie are both working together. Jenny Olson are working together to put things in the kiosks.
I do think
so just to interrupt, it's one thing that is within the document, and I did say it earlier, Jason, we are not alone in what we're facing here, and everybody coming to this town is doing the same things in their hometowns right now. So anything that you see happening in the stores, it's going to mirror what everybody's doing everywhere right now. Social distance, wear a mask, hand sanitizer. So when you talk about the educational process that needs to happen, that's what we just spent the last 6 weeks doing. And I think those coming here, they're going to know because they're doing it at home. So I think that it's going to be obvious what's happening because it's literally happening throughout the world.
I'm going to play counterpoint on that one. Just because of knowing what type of questions we get on a daily basis in the Welcome Center. I do anticipate that the Chamber Welcome Center on 96th Street is really going to be the hub of information for all our visitors this summer. You know, as you got.
And also, again, we're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely.
The county office,
Absolutely.
the county tourism department is going to be pushing a lot of that information, if it's cards, if it's flyers, if it's signs.
Yep.
But we're going to get help.
Yeah.
We're going to get help. And again, we want it to be a regional message for
Yeah.
folks moving throughout the entire county.
Yeah. We'll do our best. We'll do our best to make the information simple and clear. You know, people just seem to, all of their knowledge goes out of their heads sometimes when they come on vacation. They want to feel like.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, but I think this is unprecedented times. People are going to come with their masks. I have faith in our visitors. They're going to come with their masks, and they're going to just be happy to be here. And I think they'll follow protocols. And you know, I think our people know what they're doing. That's what I anticipate.
Yeah, the new normal, you know, the new normal will definitely take some time to get used to when we are open. You know, and you will get silly questions and people walking in stores without masks. You know, unfortunately, it's going to be up to our store owners to be able to say, I have, you know, you see the sign on the door, you know, we ask you to wear a face covering when you're welcome. Thanks for coming. I know it's going to be a hard message because, you know, our job is you know, hospitality. We want people to be happy and feel like they don't have to follow rules when they come on vacation. But as Judy said, nobody's had a national pandemic, international pandemic happen before like this. So, you know, we'll do our best to have a, you know, simple, attractive signage for you to.
And just like by way of reference, I have a brother in Chicago, a brother in San Diego, a brother in DC, a brother in Avalon, and a brother in China. We're all doing the same things. Like when I talk to them, we're all doing the same things. And my brother in San Diego, my beach opened today. You know, we're all doing the same thing. My brother in Chicago, stay-at-home order. So, and the reason I say that is those folks that come here this summer, they had the same education we had.
Right. All right. Hey, JT, I don't know if JT's still on the call. And
doesn't look like it, no. He's not.
Okay. All right. No worries. Well, we'll, you know, we'll keep the discussion going, everybody. You know, I'll talk to Maggie after the call and Marilyn, and we'll see if we can do this again next week, whether or not there's more information. You know, and Judy, of course, we understand if you're unable to join us, but as a membership, you know, it's a good idea for us to keep this type of communication open, especially in the times we're in. So if you would like to have another Zoom meeting next week, please shoot me an email. I think it's probably a real good idea, whether we're repeating the same info or hopefully we'll have a lot of new updates for you all, but might be.
And just one last thing, please tune into the council meeting on Tuesday the 19th. And when I do public comment, show your support for the modified outdoor dining. Show your support that you think this is a good idea for our town and that you want this for our business district. I really would like our council members, they need to hear from you as well. And as you know, not Judy's message, this is what the chamber wants. Our business owners are hurting. We need to do this for them.
Judy, we'll send
restaurant owners.
We will
Get me some restaurant owners to speak up at public comment and say why this is very important that we get behind this initiative, at least until COVID-19 restrictions are lifted, because it could be a year, folks. So let's make sure we get this started correctly.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know, on shnj.org, you can see the minutes from this past Tuesday's meeting. The minutes are available on there, and I think, I think a good idea going forward with any emails that I send out, that I remind everybody each time to reference shnj.org, reference the county chamber website, because there's, lots of great information that, again, each day you see a calendar day, things are updated. So they are our resources right now, that we all have to take advantage of.
Okay, it's 10:30. I don't know if no one else has any questions or comments. I think we're going to try and wrap it up because we've kept it for an hour and 40 minutes.
Good. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy the sunshine. It's blustery day. Somebody texted me 8 o'clock this morning and said, would have been interesting if we did have the shiver today. It's the coldest May 9th we've had in.
Could have done it, yes. We could have done it, yes.
Oh gosh. All right, all. Take care.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thinking of everybody.